News Alert, it is where we began this hour, and now more. New reaction to the long-awaited report on the Benghazi terror attack that killed 4 Americans. House Republicans faulting the Obama administration on, and then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, finding she ignored warnings that there was clear danger by extremist groups and that her State Department failed to protect the diplomatic outposts, even though we had problems there. Adam Housley has been on this. He's talked with Americans who were on the ground. Adam, this was exclusive from you. You've talked with these people. What have they told you?
Well, we've been staying in touch with them, Harris, as you know, for a number of years. And over the weekend, I got leaked a significant portion of the report and had some of them look at it, and of course they watched today, and I've got pages of responses. I'm going to get to a couple of those in a moment, but I just got one as I've been sitting here, Harris, in the last 2 minutes, and I think it's an area that we kind of sometimes overlook. It's the spouses of the men who were there that night. You know, they obviously lived this in a different way. This comes from Crystal Geist. Her husband, Oz, was depicted in the movie, one of the heroes that night, had his arm basically blown off in the mortar attack. She says, hey, Adam, this is Crystal. This is how I feel about hearing this report this morning. Hearing Trey Gowdy's report confirming that those in charge, Hillary Rodham Clinton that night and our current president, were watching the events happen in Benghazi in real time and chose not to send help and allow these men to die unnecessarily when they could have made a difference pisses me off, as it should every single American. She goes on to talk about how men volunteered that night to save lives, but the end is where she gets me when she says, my heart breaks for the families who lost loved ones and for this country. Take what you want, that's how I feel. I've been in tears all morning and I just wish I could turn back time. Thanks for listening. That comes from one of the spouses of a man who was one of the heroes that night. Also interesting in that report, talking about how no wheels turned towards Benghazi. In 13 hours, not one asset even went there to help evacuate the men and women who were stranded there that night. We, as you know, through our reporting in the last year or two, have talked to a number of men in other locations that could have responded, were willing to respond, were able to respond. Unfortunately, the committee could not talk to some of them because DOD would not supply them with witness lists or locations. I do know some of them continue to get the screws tightened on them as well. We also had a quote come in from this actually comes from a special agent who was on the ground in Benghazi. He says, quote, the report continues to show how ridiculous the State Department makes it to give support to a special agent on the ground when he says he needs support. There were about 10 of us who continually asked for more weapons, asked for more security in Benghazi, and were routinely denied. Now, I know that. It shows that in the report as well, Harris. It also, our reporting has found that they asked for belt-fed machine guns. They asked for sandbags. They were told it wasn't aesthetically pleasing, which goes along with the whole argument from the beginning on the State Department side that they were making headway in Benghazi, but that wasn't the case on the ground. Again, more of these. I have a ton of them coming in, as you might imagine, Harris. People very upset with what's been found here. While you hear nothing is really new, earth-shatteringly, when it comes to information, it's actually not true. There's a lot of new information in this, and people are very frustrated with what they found. And they hope some recommendations will be put in place.
All right, Adam,
Harris.
so this is Sandra Smith. So you've been on this story from the beginning, and this has, as we have witnessed, become such a partisan discussion with Democrats denying, Republicans pointing fingers about what happened. So much of this just backs up the reporting, especially that you and Fox News has done up to this point. But what is the newest development in this report that is the undeniable, backs up the undeniable fact that the American public was misled that night and in the wake of this attack?
And actually, I have a quote, too, that answers your question. I didn't have a chance to use it. Let's pull it up right now. And what I think the undeniable fact is that we had the intelligence there to know exactly what was happening. In the past, we've heard about intelligence that may have been coming from human. We had signal intelligence. We had sensitive high-tech equipment. This comes to me from a quote from a U.S. intelligence agent very involved in this. We had sensitive high-tech equipment that intercepted communications between the attackers within minutes that exposed that this was a planned attack by Ansar al-Sharia. We can't tell you what that is, of course, because that would give up U.S. security, but what we can say the capability, because it would jeopardize U.S. lives, U.S. capabilities, but this investigation found that this hard intelligence allowed Secretary Clinton to definitively tell the Egyptian foreign minister that this was a terror attack. Okay. That is huge. That is
huge. And, Adam, I have a quick follow-up along those lines. So Jennifer Griffin just emailed us. We broke the story, Fox, about Marines being told to change their uniforms and deplane en route to Libya.
Jennifer did.
Yeah, talk to me just a little bit about that.
We heard that early on. We had even a name of a plane, tail number of a plane. They were told they were changed. I'll tell you about Jennifer Griffin here for a second, because I've been doing this outside of Washington. A lot of the men and women are based out here in the West. It's a lot easier outside of the Beltway. But when Jennifer did that report, and also the report that we had a team in Croatia that could have responded, which was also proven true, she was told things, and I was told things, but her more than I was. When's your next Homeland script coming in? Oh, Fox making it up yet again. And the point is, Jennifer Griffin and our team has gone after this. If you look at our reports, we go after also Republicans on some of the things they did. We talked about Mike Rogers and the questions about his committee. So, yes, we reported, she reported that first, and I confirm that they were told to change out of clothes. And now we know it happened back and forth because they couldn't decide how they wanted to respond. This just goes back to the frustration of those men and women who were on the ground that night that had no backup. Again, for 13 hours, we didn't even fly them out of there.
Yeah, I encourage everybody to see the movie. I haven't heard a lot of people say there's not any truth to it. I mean, that's what's fascinating about it, Adam. People can see this play out.
There's one level, guys. There's one level we haven't gotten to. That's the level from General Ham up. Yes. We just don't know if, you know, the plans were in place, the balls were moving. Who didn't tell us to stand up? We don't know who that was. Was it the Secretary of State? Was it the President? Was it Joint Chiefs? We don't know, but nobody told our men and women to go.
Yeah. I mean, in essence, from what you're saying, who issued the stand down if they were changing uniforms? Adam, I got to let you go. Thank you very much. Adam Housley, an extension of our team doing exclusive and great work today. You heard him talking about Catherine Herridge, Jennifer Griffin, all of them. I want to ask you, though, about something you mentioned earlier this hour with President Obama looking those families in the face. As you heard from Crystal Geist, her husband was injured that night.
You know, Hillary Clinton told these families that she was going to track down the person that made that video and arrest them. And she lied. The administration lied time and time again. And meanwhile, when these people are fighting for their lives, they're dithering about what uniforms to wear. They changed the uniforms 4 different times. That's more than a Lady Gaga concert. I mean, this is just absolutely absurd.
Yeah. I mean, and by, you know, via Hillary Clinton, again, I keep bringing up the president. He's the one yesterday through his attorney who doesn't want to answer any more questions. I mean, I get it from her. Yeah. She's under FBI investigation on something else even. But why not at least take this dead on? Have we even gotten an official statement from the White House?
I'll tell you why not take it on. Because of some of the facts that we just learned today. The idea that there was an intercepted message right out of the gate between the attackers, between the terrorists, where they talked about the coordinated attack, and they knew in Washington in real time before they ever went out and made up this story about the movie, they already knew that wasn't true. They already knew it was an attack. Okay, so maybe later come out and say, this is why we said that, because we wanted to, but instead they say, no, it was the fog of war. We really didn't know, and they keep the lie going rather than saying, this is what we said at the time. We made that decision for reasons whatever. But instead they continue to lie and say it was the fog of war, and here more proof that that's a lie. Why?
So you know, it's interesting, Jedediah, you heard from Democrats very early on that, you know, Benghazi doesn't maybe matter. But somewhere deep down inside of those polls and those surveys, not being able to trust her keeps coming up.
Yeah, it's a reflection of her character is the problem. This doesn't bother her. She's willing to say, oh, you know, they're playing political games. Yeah. She's willing to let it sit out there that there was no truth. It doesn't bother her that people died, and that let's say she had no ill intent. There was no malicious behavior. You would be out there saying, oh my gosh, we messed up and people lost their lives, and you would feel compelled to accept responsibility because you would be sick to your stomach putting your head to a pillow at night. But it doesn't bother her, and that's what people are figuring out about her.
It's interesting if she would come clean to all of that, if that would actually help her politically or not.
She'd look like a human for a change, I'll tell you that.
We'll move on.